This is a great travel accessory that was very useful to any soldier, be they an officer or an enlisted man, and certainly was much used in the early 20th century by civilians as well. So, what is it? Well, let's unpack it and have a look. So we've got a lid there, remove that, a handle, and contained within we've got a little pad with lid which would take spirits and would be your heater, and we've got quite an ornate little tripod base. So let's move the camera in a little bit and give you a closer look of it, all set up ready for use. So let's set up the tripod. We can see that it's all hinged rather neatly to pat down, but sets up into its form quite easily. So we'll set that up there. Next we've got the little spirit heater. So we'll take off the lid, and in there you've got a gauze, and you would pour your spirit into that, ready for lighting. So that sits in there. Next we unfold our handle from our pan, fill it full of water. We're going to put the lid back on because then obviously the contents will boil much quicker. We can save some of that spirit for another occasion, so we can have a brew at a later date. Put that on and wait for it to boil. Well, while it's boiling, we can talk about the different companies who made these. This one is unnamed, we don't know who made it, but it is unusual in its form. The pan is much wider and lower than most that we see, but also the ornate tripod and the handle are a little bit different. Other companies that we do know made them are the Army and Navy Store, who called it a spirit stove, and they offered them either self-contained like this one, or you could also buy a leather case to put them into. Other companies such as Drew made them. Drew made wonderful little spirit heaters. They also made a version which was shaped to take a shaving brush, so you could use it for shaving water when you're out in the field. Lucas also made them. Barrett, Swain and Adeney, Thomas Briggs, all of those London high-end companies were involved in making them, so they must have been popular. We can see from the lid of this one that it is plated. We can see that it's rubbed, and on the edges the copper is coming through. The lid is quite thin metal really, the pan a little bit more substantial, and the folding handle is cast, and you can see it's got that decoration to it as well, which is echoed on the tripod, which is also cast. So this one is late 19th century in date. They were still very popular into the 20th century, and of course, aside from the military using them, they're also very popular to take on picnics, or if you had a nice vintage car, you might go travelling out into the countryside and you'd take one of these along with you, and then you could stop and you could have a brew. And they were made, or versions of them were made well into the 20th century, and in fact you can still find modern camping stoves, although I'm not so sure they come all contained within a pan as neatly as this one. So there you go, late 19th century little spirit stove, all self-contained. Lovely little item.